Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the fourth and final webinar in the series. We hope that you've enjoyed the first three. If you've watched those or if you're new to the series, we welcome and hope that you enjoy this one. This is our Navigating NRCS programs, and today we're discussing resources that assist with the initial costs of NRCS programs. Those costs to implement many of these conservation practices can be a barrier before payments are received, but opportunities like the EQIP Bridge Loan, FSA loans, and NRCS advanced payments can really help address that funding gap. So with that, it's my pleasure to turn this over to Sarah Liao.
Hi everyone, welcome again to our fourth part of the webinar series. So again, today we're going to discuss funding and financing options. I'm the Conservation Technical Assistant, so my role is to connect people with programs that are available to ranchers, and along with that, some of these other additional resources that can help, again, bridge that gap and make the resources more accessible. So today, the ones that we're going to be talking about are the EQIP Bridge Loan Program. And then afterwards, we're going to talk about the Farm Service Agency loan options, and then wrap it up with the options through the NRCS, because they do have something that can assist with historically underserved ranchers. And then just a brief overview to recap the payment process for NRCS payments. Once the contract is finalized, you get payment info and practice schedule. NRCS lets you know that you can start working on project implementation. And then the main things, you pay for the materials, labor, etc. And then you're the one that pays the upfront costs. You're the one that gets the work done by the standards and specs. And then once NRCS is contacted, it gets certified, then you get the payment. So there is a gap between when you're doing that project and then getting the payment at the end. CSP is very similar to EQIP, but the main thing is with that program is that the payments are annual. So I think the main thing with EQIP is when you're doing the program, you're going to want to get paid kind of immediately with the labor and everything as it goes along. And then with that, we're going to hand it over to Alex Cherry with Food System 6, who is going to be presenting about the EQIP Bridge Loan Program through some grants that they have. Go ahead and stop sharing. If I can open that up. There we go. Stop share.
All right. Can we all see my presentation now? Does it look all right? Great. Awesome. Well, thank you for the intro, Sarah. I'm very happy to join you all today. My name is Alex Cherry. I am the program officer for the EQIP Bridge Loan Program at Food System 6. We are a nonprofit that is national, and we are very excited to share with you all this program that we run to help farmers, ranchers, landowners, producers access the bridge funding that is needed to help get EQIP contracts done. So thank you for being here today. This session, I'll be pretty quick and breeze through this a little bit. So it's meant to be just sort of a brief overview of our program. I know since this is a little more educational early stage in the process, I have some slides later that get into more detail about how it works, but I'll move through this a bit more quickly. Can I skip to there we go. Great. So Food System 6, just to give you a little background on who we are, we're a nonprofit with a mission to accelerate the shift to a just and regenerative food system by ensuring farmers and ranchers have the financial security that they need to adopt better practices to nourish people and the planet. We really have a focus on providing immediate financial assistance as well as building out some mid and long-term programs to help build a better network and architecture for the system of producers out there who are trying to do better by the land and by the people that they work with and their communities. And these missions are becoming ever more important also amidst shifting federal funding landscapes, looming farm bankruptcy crises, tariff and trade shocks, etc. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about and don't need to hear me belabor that point. So this program was a pilot that we launched about a year ago, and we're really happy with the successes that we've been able to manage in the first year. We've distributed over $250,000 in bridge loan funding in year one alone. We have a report that came out a couple weeks ago, which I'm also happy to share, with the folks in your network afterwards by email or something. And we're really excited also to keep expanding the program. Maybe we'll also eventually be able to offer this structure for CSP and other NRCS loans programs as well. Just to give a little bit of overview on how our program works. So we're a philanthropically backed loan fund, which means that we're able to offer 0% interest loans. It is almost like a recoverable grant in the sense that we're able to offer the funding up front without any interest. And the way that we get repaid is through an assignment on the EQIP contract. Now, what that means is that we sign a couple of documents between us, you guys, and the NRCS agent that you work with, basically saying that instead of the repayment going directly to you like it normally would, it comes back to us. And that's because we're going to give you the money upfront ahead of time in the exact same amount that's in your EQIP contract that'll come back to us later. And so that's how we get repaid. But like I said, it's a 0% interest loan. It's really meant to be as borrower friendly as possible. And we're trying to cover the timing gap between when you're approved for the EQIP and when you actually receive the reimbursement, knowing that you have to pay upfront to implement the program, the project that you've gotten your contract for. So we also don't take any collateral. There's no penalties or liens or anything. And it's really tied to your timeline. And we work with every individual borrower that we work with to build the loan structure that works best for them. We also really value relationships and relationship-based lending. What that means is that we take the time to understand your operation, your land, your history, your project, what you're trying to do, and what success looks like for you. And we know that that's different for everyone, and especially for newer producers and those who come from underserved communities, you may not fit a traditional credit box. It might mean something different to you than it does for a large scale producer with a long history of accessing government grants and programs. So we really work to build trust and provide as much education as we can throughout the process as well. And we want to stay in touch with check-ins as well throughout the process to make sure that you get the support that you need to get your EQIP project done. We have a holistic borrower evaluation approach. What that means is we consider your capacity, your farm plan, your experience, your community support, your membership in communities like California Rangeland Trust, for example. And we don't just reduce you to a score or like a credit score or a number that the way that a traditional lender like a bank would. We don't require collateral or down payment. So instead we tailor our disbursements and help and repayment to your EQIP timeline to help with your cash flow. If it is helpful, we'll loop in other local partners, cooperatives, technical advisors, or mentors to strengthen your plan and reduce risk. And these check-ins keep things moving and surface issues early so they're easy to fix. Very, very quickly. So our program is currently active in 19 states and California is one of them, of course. As for the other sort of eligibility requirements, the only really important thing is that you have a signed EQIP contract already, because the way that our bridge loans work is that they're tied specifically to that contract. And we even like use the ID code of the contract in signing our loan agreement with you. So this will have to come after you've been working with your NRCS agent already to develop your conservation plan and get the approval and the signed contract, and then we'll be ready to start a relationship with you. That being said, if you are in the earlier stages of the process and you want to reach out to us to say like, hey, I'm expecting to get my EQIP contract signed in the next couple weeks or whatever, then we're happy to, establish the connection and start working with you for when you do receive it. We're ready to go, if that's helpful for you. Just a quick run through of our process. We have sort of a 6-stage process. The first is we have an intake form. This is a Google form. It's online. It's pretty quick. We're just really looking to understand your EQIP project and your budget, and like collect some basic information about you. And then we'll have an introductory call, which is usually about 30 minutes. And this is really just to get to know you and start building up the relationship, learn more about your goals and what you're trying to do on your land. Then we'll ask for a larger set of documentation. This is still a lighter touch than a traditional loan would ask for, but we are trying to make sure that we understand some more basic details about your plan, your timeline, your resources, your equip contract. We'll have to see a copy of it, and we'll also ask for some basic financials. And we'll work together with you to discuss any potential challenges you might face in retrieving that documentation and supplying with us. We're very happy to be flexible and work with you to meet your needs. And we'll also, after looking at those documentation, we'll move into risk mitigation, think about what challenges there might be in implementing the project according to the NRCS specs and standards, and if there's any ways that we can help you minimize those potential challenges. And lastly, we'll decide together on the best structure and timeline for your bridge loan. And sometimes that might be disbursement in multiple stages. And then we'll lock in on logistics. And once we agree on some final terms, we will get it approved through our credit committee. And at closing, we sign and send you the funds so you can move forward. We typically aim for this process to take around 30 days, and we think about 4 to 6 weeks is sort of the standard that we've settled into as we've reached the 1 year mark in this running this program. A little tiny bit more on our underwriting process. We really believe that it should be a supportive process and not a scary one. And like I mentioned before, we don't let one number define you. Low credit or a past challenge isn't a deal breaker. We really are looking at momentum and feasibility for your project. And again, also, if you've done this with your NRCS agent already, that puts you in a better position to know what to provide us with, because you've already been having those conversations and thinking it through already. So we will review your practice plan, timeline, and how you'll cover any portion of the project that EQIP doesn't reimburse. Since it's meant to be a cost share reimbursement, the amount in the EQIP contract isn't always 100% of the cost that you'll end up paying for it. And in the cases where it's not, we will, want to understand where the rest of the funding will be coming from, whether you have savings or if you end up taking out any other, receiving any other grants for it or taking out any other loans or anything. So this is a very brief look at the financial form that we've created, as we're trying to help also provide more financial education for producers who might be not used to keeping track of such things. If this is helpful to anyone, we're happy to share it. And also, if you guys have more resources that are helpful, we'd love to work together to make it more accessible for early producers to access financial tools such as this. We have a couple of testimonials. I can give a very quick rundown. On the left, we have Miss Donna Isaacs. She was one of our borrowers in Louisiana who realized that she was falling behind on her contract and actually at risk of losing her farm due to mounting financial pressures. She opened up to us about the challenges she was facing, and we were able to offer bridge funding support to allow Donna to right her ship and get back to building up her large regenerative permaculture operation in Louisiana. And she's just about finished now, and it's been really great to work with her throughout that process and get her ship righted again. On the right, we have Nadia Alber. She was one of the first producers that we offered bridge loan funding to last year. And she's got a complex rotational grazing setup project that she's been building that needed a lot of upfront capital that she wasn't able to find on her own. So with our bridge loan, she's able to really build the necessary portions to get that irrigation system set up so that she could do her rotational grazing. And she's based in Wisconsin. So why work with us? Just a little conclusion summary here. We're offering something that's really unique. A lot of people say it might sounds too good to be true, but because it's philanthropic capital, it's not too good to be true. It is true. It's a 0% interest and no fee money really upfront for you, means that more of your resources stay on your land. And you don't have to worry about put it on a credit card or taking out a high interest short-term payday loan or something in order to access your government funds that are really taxpayer funds that you are you should be entitled to if you've gotten through that process with your NRCS agent. The relationship piece of our program means that you have a team championing your project and helping you clear roadblocks that might come up. Fast access to funds keeps contractors scheduled and timelines intact. And flexibility really matters. We adapt to the real world farming conditions so you can focus on installing the practice as well. Had a couple questions that we've received a lot of recently. I'll just very, very briefly hit on a couple of these. One is, I'm not sure if you guys work in organic at all or other certifications like that. There is an equip practice which is specifically called organic management, and it doesn't actually require you to be certified organic, but it allows you as a producer or landowner to kind of choose your own adventure and to make up your own conservation plan. This is a newer practice. It's only been around since the last Farm Bill in 2018 was passed, but it's been protected from cuts as part of the main EQIP program. So, and we've been able to work with a couple of producers with it, but we've learned that most NRCS offices and producers around the country just don't know that this exists. It's called 823 organic management, or sometimes transition to organic management. And if you have you're really clear on what you want to do to preserve your land, but it's not really covered by some of the specifics of some of the other practices. It might be a good one to ask your agent about. You might have to do a little legwork though to figure out what it looks like together. But we're really excited about this equip practice and think it has a lot of potential to let folks really self-design better practices on their land. Additionally, we have a $75,000 cap on our bridge loans, but there are ways around that if we are able to structure reimbursements. So you get fully reimbursed 75,000, and then if you have a really large project you're trying to do, big equip with like many, many items in it, once we get the 75,000 recycled back, we can do another up to $75,000 at a time. And then, yeah, other NRCS programs, there's RCPP, CSP, et cetera. These are unfortunately not eligible right now, but we are actively looking to expand into those other programs and raising more money into our fund corpus to do that, hopefully in the next 6 months to a year from now. And then additional states, we're also hoping to expand into additional states. Yeah, so should we do questions now or save them to the end?
Yeah. Um, we can do a couple questions now, and then if more roll in, does that work for you, Alex?
Sounds good.
Okay, great. So can you talk a little bit more about the timeline? You mentioned like 30 days or 4 to 6 weeks.
Mhm.
What type of things affect that?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is the getting the documentation request here. Let me go back to that. Yeah. So the documentation review, this is typically what takes the longest period of time. It's just sort of like we ask for a series of documents all at once, and it can be kind of a long list and sort of maybe hard to work through them all at once, a little bit overwhelming for some folks. Totally get it. We've created a worksheet to help people keep track as they are kind of checking off the boxes, finding it's like insurance and copy of your NRCS contract and your NRCS agent's contact information. So we can talk to them. It's a whole list of things. Hopefully, the faster that you are able to get that stuff all back to us, the faster we're able to move forward with processing it all and going through our own internal underwriting process for making sure we're checking all our boxes, dotting our I's and crossing our T's on our end. And that's sort of the longest process. We've also had some administrative challenges at the end in the like loan and document signing pieces that have sort of affected the timelines for closing the loans in the past. But we've like just now, I think, really streamlined that process and gotten it really, really clear. So we've sort of yet to test out the new timeline from a fresh start with everything running very smoothly. But we are at the point now where everything's running very smoothly. So I think that's why I said hopefully 30 days, but like 4 to 6 weeks is sort of the estimate for the time being.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. And as far as when throughout the process of an equip contract is there any time that it's like too late for them to contact you, or is it too early, or as soon as they get told that they have a contract, can you kind of touch on that?
So I'd say we can start um our intake, like if we fill out the intake whenever you are thinking about it. Once you have your contract in hand from the NRCS, that's when we can move to step two, which is like the intro call, because it's tied specifically to how much they award you, and you won't know that until you get the contract. We don't want to start beforehand and then have to adjust later on. That can be really challenging. So we're gonna start as soon as you got that contract. That's when we can move to step two. But if you want to just submit your stuff into our intake form, it's public, it's posted on our website. Before that, that's totally okay. I'll just send you back an email saying, thanks for reaching out. Please let us know once you've received your contract. And sorry, the other question was at the
Is there too late? Like if
yeah,
there's already a contract you've started, you thought you had the fund and you're trying to do it, and maybe you hit a wall, right? Something
yeah.
comes up.
Yeah, so I would say it's as long as your contract is still valid and active and the NRCS hasn't tried to take the funding back from you yet, which is something that can happen, then it's not too late. So there's the way that the contract looks. I don't know if you've shown them like what the 1155 or 1202 looks like at all.
Yeah.
But basically, the way that the equip contract looks is that each practice you're awarded has a specific dollar amount associated with a specific year. And in theory, like are eligible for up to that much funding. Usually it's just that much funding directly for that specific year for that specific practice. And then there's like as many practices that are in the total contract. It could be a long contract, it can just be one item. Really depends on what you've worked with your agent to build. The years we've found are like not as precise as you might think. So lots of people end up delayed in implementing, and where it looks like, okay, this was awarded for 2024, it's now 2026 and it hasn't been completed yet. Does that mean that the NRCS is going to try to claw back the funding and cancel the contract? Sometimes they might cancel the entire contract if one item in it later on doesn't get finished, but you've actually completed and been reimbursed for other items earlier in the contract. That's a risk also. Um, if they haven't taken the money back or aren't threatening to do that imminently, it's not too late. That's what I'll say. But we will definitely, if you're in a situation like this, we're going to want to speak with your NRCS agent anyway to understand their timeline. Lots of them can be really understanding and flexible. Others cannot. It sort of depends locality to locality and office to office, what their procedures are. There's also a state level kind of NRCS implementation setup, which changes state to state to state. So the ones that we've worked with in California so far have been really reasonable and easy to work with. So hopefully that means they're also more reasonable and easy to work with for the producer side. But yeah, that's all I know.
No, that's great to hear. So those who are already in a current contract could possibly still benefit from this as well.
Oh,
Is that
absolutely.
right?
Yeah. And if you have a current equip contract and you're like, I need funding now to access that to like get it done, submit your application today. Like I'll talk to you tomorrow. We're ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's great to hear. That's all I had. Sarah, did you have any other questions pop up?
I don't think so. I think that pretty much covers it.
Great.
Thanks,
Well, Alex, are
Alex.
you able to hang around till the end?
Of
Or do you
course. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. If anything else comes up, we'll go back to you.
Thank you guys.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to sharing my screen. All right, so just covered the Equip Bridge Loan Program, and now we're going to discuss FSA loans. So there's a lot of different FSA loans, but the main one that's specific to people with NRCS contracts is the Conservation Loan Program. This kind of loan is a guaranteed loan, and so it's kind of hard to find if you look at the FSA website. It's not going to be like there's not going to be something that explicitly says conservation loan program up front, but if you go under like information about the guaranteed loans, you will find it a little easier. So this means that FSA administers the loans through a commercial lender, like an eligible lender, to promote conservation work on farms and ranches. So the main goal of this loan is to assist NRCS contract holders with the financial barrier of NRCS projects. And so it's open to smaller or larger operations. But the main thing is that you're working with the commercial lender. And because of that, the fees and interest rates are between you and that eligible lender. But the loan limit for FSA on that side of things is a little over $2 million. So you're probably not going to reach that amount with a EQIP contract, with the limit being $450,000. But that's something that they offer. So the FSA guaranteed loan process in general, basically, this one isn't as like streamlined as the conservation loan program specifically, but in general, you meet with the lender to evaluate the loan. The lender and the producer prepare the application, and you work with them on the application. The lender submits the application for guarantee to FSA. FSA reviews that, ensures it meets the program's rules. And then if the loan gets approved, the funds are requested. There is a chance that the funds don't get approved, so it's not like a full guarantee. Once funds are obligated, FSA provides the lender with some forms to fill out, and then the lender and the applicant close the loan, and funds are provided to the applicant. The main eligibility for these kinds of loans, you have to have legal capacity to obtain a loan. You are eligible if you have not received debt forgiveness for a guaranteed or direct loan through the government, and you are not behind on debt that is owed to the government. And the exception is any debt under the Internal Revenue Code of 1986. So that's like any like tax related debt. So like if you have like sorry, there's a thunderstorm, if you can hear that behind me. Any kind of like property tax or something like that, that's what that code is referencing. So when you do apply, again, you apply through your chosen approved lender, and there are search tools through the FSA like government website to look and see which ones are approved. You can look up your area, and then I'll have some options. So we can link that after this webinar series. And then you can't apply until an NRCS contract is in place and signed. But given that, you can work with the loan officer ahead of time and like throughout the process, just ask questions before you go through the application process. And streamlined applications are available. In general, what I've seen is that these applications from like start to end can be anywhere from like 2 to 3 months, maybe 4 months. So there is kind of a longer process with these. But streamlined applications are available if you have a low debt to income ratio of 40% or less, minimum FICO score of 700, and a net worth 3 times the loan amount. So you have to have all of those things. I'm not sure exactly how much more streamlined it is, but that definitely helps with the long wait for these loans. And then another thing to say about these kinds of loans, again, you do have to go through the lender, but it is good to go through FSA initially just to talk about, make sure you're eligible for the loan, make sure the funding's available, see who even that you need to talk to, because not all FSA offices have a loan advisor. So you'll have to reach out to FSA and see who your best contact for that is. For example, in like Northeast California, there's not a loan officer in any of those offices. You're gonna, like a lot of those people in those areas, contact people from completely different counties. And so that's the basics for this loan information. Before I move on to the NRCS side of things, are there any questions about FSA loans, the conservation program loan?
Nope, I think you're good to keep going.
Okay, perfect. And then the last one that I want to mention is the NRCS advance payment through EQIP. So this one is through EQIP only, and it's only eligible for historically underserved producers. So that's anyone that's under these categories in the image. So that's limited resource farmer or rancher, beginning farmer or rancher, socially disadvantaged, veteran farmer, rancher. And all of this is like self-certified. And there are specific requirements and breakdowns of these groups. So I can also link that information after the webinar. And so if you do want to go through the advance payment process, you start with the application. So if you meet any of these categories, you'll check that, and then you'll be automatically eligible for the advance payment. You don't have to request it right away. It can be if going through the contract, maybe you have a practice coming up that you want some of the final payment to go towards implementing it. You can go to your NRCS office, request an advance payment, and then do that through that way. So you don't have to know right away whether or not you're going to do this. It covers 50% of the payment, and then the other 50% is paid after certification. And so if you're on your practice schedule, it says we're going to receive $10,000 for a certain practice, you'll get that $5,000 upfront. And then once the practice is done, someone will come out and certify, and then you'll get the other 5,000 afterwards. So it's not, a complete payment initially, but it's very helpful for those who have very expensive practices, or even practices that, aren't as expensive as maybe some of the infrastructure ones, but it's still extremely helpful. So it can be done with any of the practices that are available. And then the other thing is it must be done within 90 days of you, like signing the paperwork that you're going to do the advance payment. This is very strict. So you want to make sure that you have labor, the people that are doing the work lined up, if that's something that you're going to do. You have all the materials ready, anything you need to implement that practice, you're going to want to get that set up before or very soon after you sign that you're going to do the advance payment, because they do not leave wiggle room for this. And then if you don't complete the advance payment or the practice within that 90 days, you do have to pay that money back eventually. So that's something to keep in mind when you're doing this process. But again, extremely helpful, because it's a lot easier than like going through the whole FSA loan process if you fall under a historically underserved category. And since it's all through NRCS, like in-house, it's a lot easier. So those are the main ones. So we have the conservation program loan, and then the advance payment through NRCS. So any questions on any of those?
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. No, I don't think we really had any come in. It was really nice to see. I mean, I don't know how you feel, Alex. I feel like we made your program look pretty good, following up with the timeline and the lack of flexibility. I think it's great there's multiple options out there, but I know my key takeaway is I'd probably start by contacting Alex first.
We really, I mean, the reason why this program exists is because we know how hard it is to access some of these other programs, and yeah.
Right.
Yes, and we're appreciative that
Yeah,
those exist, right? That other programs do exist, but go ahead, Sarah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say too, and that one's a little more concrete, whereas like say the FSA guaranteed loan, like you don't know for sure what you're gonna go into going through the process. So like you don't know what the interest rate is gonna be right away, or the fees or anything like that. But it is a good resource still to have, especially if you have like a CSP contract and you want assistance for that, and it's not covered under the bridge loan or something, and it's not covered under an advance payment or something like that. So it's good to have options.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Sarah, to say that that these are available for other programs beyond EQIP. Is that what you were saying?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
the loan can be
Yeah.
any of the conservation programs through NRCS.
Okay, good. That is a good point to point out. And then obviously Alex mentioned that they do have a $75,000 limit. However, there's opportunity to work around that where maybe you get through 75,000, get that reimbursed and could apply for another one where these other ones have larger. Okay, great. Well, I think that about wraps it up. No other questions are rolling in. So thank you both for your time and clarifications. The recording of this, along with the links and contact info for Alex and Sarah, will be sent out by the end of this week. We encourage you all to just reach out to either of them if you have more questions. And thank you. And I hope you all have a great afternoon.